Hello, welcome, good morning, and welcome to the live. Just gonna have a bit of a chat about basically not taking action and what that can do. So I think there's nothing worse than regret for what you didn't do, rather than say regretting mistakes for what you did do. I think I can't remember who said it, but I think it was actually a famous psychologist who said, or a therapist who said, out of everyone, who was it? I don't think it was Jordan Peterson. It doesn't matter. But basically, what they said was, out of everyone that they saw in their clinical practice, all these people, some people that come to see the therapist have been through lots of troubles, lots of drama, lots of traumatic incidents in their life. Tell you it was that guy Orion Taraban, the psychax dude, pretty popular. And he said in his clinical practice that everyone that came to see him that had went through difficult times, he mentioned that not one of them, when asked, would, no matter what they'd been through, they wouldn't change their life for someone else. So they wouldn't swap being in someone else's shoes who had not been through the trauma. And I think he said that most therapists had come to this conclusion. There've been some kind of study that most people, even if they've been through the most terrible times, would not swap that for another person's life. And it sounds really strange, that, but and what it suggested is that no matter what you go through in life, you don't kind of regret. People regret the past, but you wouldn't change it. It always makes you into the person that you are. The stuff that you do regret is always the chances that you didn't take. That one, when I listen to people that are older, and I'm not going to name any names, but people that are close to me, they always say, oh, I wish I was more like this, or I wish I'd done that. I never really, I wanted to start that business, but I never really did. It's always that stuff that bites you more. And I heard something called the rocking chair test, on some content where the idea was with the rocking chair test was, ask yourself, you've almost like got to picture yourself when you're 80 years old, and you say, would I be happy with that decision? And this is a good one about not taking opportunities. Because in my younger years, I was always had this kind of entrepreneurial side to me. I always wanted to do my own thing, but I fear making the jump. And it took me until I didn't start my business until I was in my 30s, my first business. And I think it's different today on the live streams I've done this week. I was talking to one of the listeners. We had a phone call, and he's like young, he's like, very, very young. I think he said he was like 22 or something. If you're that young today, there's so much opportunity to create a business because of the media it's basically you can be your own citizen journalist or social media or whatever you want to do. You can do that now, and it costs you nothing to get exposure. You just have to be consistent with it. So the opportunities for young people to start businesses are massive. They weren't there when I was around. There was none of this, none of the social media, none of the, not even the internet as such. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't the same thing. So to start a business, you needed, you need to have a lot of, you need to be afforded those opportunities or work really hard or whatever, right? So the idea that you can regret not starting a business is just, what services do you do? What's this live stream about? It's about not having regrets. It's basically, the title of it is, I can't remember the title. I think it was it's all about, I think people regret more what the opportunities that they don't take rather than, say, regretting mistakes that you make. And, you know, mistakes are inevitable, right? I've got a couple of things here. I did a video on, it's in the link down below. It's in the two things that all successful people do. And those two things are, like, basically, never using negative self-talk when referring to themselves. So they always have, like, a positive self-image. And the second thing is doing the hard things. They do the things that other people want, right? I don't provide services, mate. Well, I do. I sell the journals, but I'm not providing any services really as such. I do a limited bit of coaching for people that I know, but it's not, you know, I'm not directly coaching loads of people because I run two businesses. I don't have time. However, if you want a bit of help, you can email me and we can have a bit of a chat there. If you do need any help, obviously you can buy my journal, links down below, but other than that, we're just here to do a live stream. Is that all right, Andy? Where are you from, by the way? Maybe you can tell me where you're from. Anyway, right, back to not having regrets for what you didn't do. I always think, right, that if you want to do something, you should take the risk and the opportunity. Obviously, if you listen to my content, you know, make sure you've created a plan and everything and just start working towards it. 3 things a day, 3 small things a day. You can do this as a side hustle whilst you're working. The most important thing is that you're consistently working towards it. But, you know, don't wait for the perfect plan. Just go for it because, like I said, there's nothing worse than having regrets for what you don't do. And like something that I've noticed when I journal, I've been journaling for years, of course, right? The journal's like your record of, or if you use a notebook, do you write meeting notes down in a notebook? I write everything down. It's all a record of your wins and losses, right? And the one thing I'd always notice is that when I read it back, let's say every 6 months or every 12 months, I'll read back my old journals. And we usually make the right decision. But the one thing I always see is we almost always make it too late. You almost could have made it. Like if you're going to do something, you almost could have done it 6 months earlier, 12 months earlier. So whilst I'm getting better, like in my early 20s, I used to procrastinate like mad. I could not make a decision. I had all the skills, of course, but I just couldn't make a decision. I wanted to do certain things. I wanted to change my job. I wanted to go for this. I wanted to start a business. I couldn't fucking do it. It took me until I was in my 30s. I was terrible at procrastinating. And I regretted all that. There were some absolute brilliant opportunities that I should have gone for, got it on a plate. That I remember this really good job offer that I got working for like an airport group for capital planning, you know, like of the airport. I was in, obviously, construction and design. And it was a massive opportunity, like, in terms of my career at the time. I just couldn't fucking go for it. I couldn't make the decision. So I really regret that one. I remember walking around the airport with, you know, the head. And he was trying to say to me, look, Andy, I'll give you so much for a car. Or I just want you in. And I couldn't make the fucking decision. And I ended up running the clock down. Now, not taking action is the same as taking action. So I ran the clock down. The opportunity went. And then I said to myself after that, right, I am never, ever letting an opportunity like that pass me by again. And from that moment, I never did. Every opportunity that came by, in fact, a couple of years later, I did get a big opportunity. I ended up going into consulting and things, and then, which led me to where I am, because after that, I started my business and I am where I am. But there was that moment where I should have took that opportunity, and I never. Now, today, you know, I started the new business, you know, the Goal Achievement Hub, selling the journals, and it's an e-commerce business. Never done that before. I've got the software business, but I started it this year. It actually started end of last year, and I was creating the product last year, but I didn't hesitate this time round, even though, let's say, I knew in starting that new business, I would give myself an absolute shit ton of work because I've already got the existing business. I've already got my hands full with too much, and I basically bitten off more than I could chew. But because I've been there before, I decided to do it, and I knew that I'd have, right, this is going to be 2 or 3 years of really hard graft, because I know like the e-commerce journey is very hard. So it's like, I've really got to put a shift in here. So I basically made a rob for my own back in doing so, like committing myself to the work. And remember, the minute you place an order for stock and you pay for it up front, that's an upfront investment for all the design, all the stock, all the marketing, advertising. I thought, the minute I'd handed that money over, I was like, right, I better make this work now. And it's like going 2 feet into something. And I think it's a really nice feeling when you do that. It does have stress. I'll say one thing about taking decisions, right? Rather than sitting on the fence and saying, oh, I want to start this business, but I'm waiting, or I want to, it could be anything. It can be like a health goal, or I want to start learning how to play piano, or starting a martial art, whatever. The longer you sit on the fence, that's all you're doing there is just procrastinating. But the minute you start, yes, you give yourself a lot of aggravation and headaches and all this work to do, which is really good. But the only way to get successful in life is to take action. That's true. We all know it. If you could go through life completely passive, not making decisions, not taking action, and just being completely passive, and it'll be very safe, and you'll avoid failure, right? Well, you won't avoid failure. Your failure will come later down the line when entropy catches up with you, and because you've done nothing, you've slipped back, and you end up behind, and whatever, and broke, and you've got a shit job and all that stuff, and all you can do is do what your boss tells you to because you've never took action, right? So you can avoid pain and just keep going and just be passive in life and not make decisions. But entropy will catch you. And the other thing that will catch you, when you get to the rocking chair test, you'll regret it, right? Unless you're happy with that, that's fine. But I'm presuming if you listen to this, you're not happy with that. You want to take action. So if you take action, I'll tell you what you'll end up, right? Yes, you might have loads of mistakes, loads of pain out of that action, but you'll never have a boring life, right? Your life will be more exciting as a result. You'll be exposed to more, full of events, drama, right? The other thing is, when you take action, you take big risks. Let's say you want to do something, just start tomorrow. Been working with Leonie recently. Like, we've actually been coaching each other. She's obviously in marketing and advertising. She used to work for me when I started the software business. She was like in-house marketing for me. And she now has her own agency, like marketing and ad agency. And she's doing really well. So I've been working with her because she's helping me with things like meta ads and teaching me how to do it, and hopefully we're going to use her, going forwards and that kind of thing. But in return, I've also been coaching her on starting a business. So it was like going from freelancer, so self-employed, to then building a team, and then going limited company, like incorporated business. So I was helping her like get to that point. And I felt there was a little bit of procrastination. She was waiting. She was almost like waiting for approval from her accountant. I was like, no, you don't. Just do it. Do it. Make yourself a limited company. And she did it. And it's like, right, okay. You probably could have done that a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever. Right. So this is the thing. And it's not saying that you pushing forward and making decisions like that. Right. is going to make you rich and successful. It's not saying that everything's going to come off good, because there are situations where I've done that and then had to fold a business or whatever just because it hasn't worked out. But I still don't regret. I remember starting a business literally the same time I started. So my software business is 12 years old. At the same time, I started another business with a guy because I was still in construction and development and was looking. A big, massive 200-acre site. Was going to build like a holiday park on there with like loads of lakes and water sports and fishing and different sports and, like lodges, log cabins. We was looking at doing that. And we was like arranging a bridging loan to get the land and everything. And obviously, big money were behind this, and I went into business with this guy to do that, and then a few months later, it didn't work out. We got gazumped on the land and all this, that, and the other, and I put 12 months of absolute solid graft into it, and then in the end, I just had to fold and dissolve the business because we didn't get the land deal and things. It didn't work out, but I didn't regret it. It was like a relief because I wanted to go full steam into the software business. So that enabled me to, I had too much on. I was butterflying, trying to do too many things, and I had to narrow it down. So it allowed me to put the focus into the software business. And that's that. So I'm not saying that like if you take the risk and do things, you're going to get successful. You may be no better off than if you did nothing, right? No, you might not become successful. It might not work. It might not take off. And you might look at it and go, oh, I should have just stayed in my job. I would have been better off financially or same. But I still think that it's worth going for, just because in every decision that you make, you learn from it. But it's like character development. I think there's nothing better than training yourself. Don't take crazy risks. I've done it in a few videos. You've got to look for an asymmetrical upside. It's like where's that book? Oh, I talked about it the other day. This book. Hang on. This one. Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman. It's a really good book because he breaks down loss aversion really well, saying that most people, it's basically most people will react to the fear of losing something more than the gain. And this is what stops people taking action. It's like fear of loss, fear of it going wrong. And he breaks it down, loss aversion in here, like almost you've got to train yourself to have a trader's mindset. Like take your emotions out of the decision, and you want to look for an asymmetrical upside. So the chances of it succeeding are better than if it didn't work out. And Daniel Kahneman, I mean, this guy's a Nobel Prize winner. This book is absolutely amazing. It's a difficult read, but he says most people need the upside to be 1.5 to 2.5 times the downside in order to take the risk. Now, what you want to do is train yourself to tighten that up. And it depends on the stakes, so you want to weight the stakes. So if, like, never gamble on your life or on your house or anything like this, but if it's a small thing, let's say it's a manageable risk and you can look at it and go, right, I'm fearing, like a good one is leaving employment to go self-employed, right? It's a massive decision and it feels scary. I remember when I was doing it, it was super scary, and I couldn't do it. And like I say, until I were, I couldn't do it in my 20s. I just couldn't fucking do it. I used to side hustle all the time, like at Moonlight. I've side hustles, doing my own private freelance work whilst having a job. But making the jump is very hard. Now, if everything works out, let's say you can look at it and you've weighed up the options, and the upside, right, is far higher than the downside. What's the worst that could happen? Well, you'll have to get another job. It might be worse, whatever. But once you can train yourself to have almost like a trader's mindset to take decisions, it's very powerful, right? And you'll never look back. And just by having that, it's like a muscle. I think it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. Yes, you will give yourself absolute headache. You will not have a boring life. You'll have lots of things to do. You may make a rod for your own back like I have, right? You know, at times. And this is it. This is life, but you want to have an exciting and eventful life, right? And yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like that right now. I've bitten off more than I can chew this year. It's got to the point where I spent an absolute fortune on marketing my existing business and new business, and you know, I've got a lot of work on, right? But I enjoy it, right? I think there's nothing better than, like I say, you know, creating an identity for yourself and then go and live in it. I think that's what I do, you know. So in the journal at the start, I showed this yesterday. This diagram, the identity evolution cycle, that one is what to do. So you create an identity for yourself, right? You write down a set of goals that you need to achieve that identity, and then you go and live it in small daily actions. It's, you know, and you have to make sure your small daily actions are in alignment with your identity, because this cycle means if your actions daily are in alignment with your identity, they will confirm the identity. And this is how you do identity shifting. You feed in a new identity at the top. Right, I'm going to be this business owner, I'm going to start this business. That's me. I'm now the owner of this business. And this is what I do every day, right? And then you do it every day, because we are the sum of our daily habits. That's who we are. We end up being the sum of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And it's like, it's your average day, what you want to do. This is what I do, you know. I always say, every day when you wake up, you need a routine. And what I do, obviously I journal. Just been out, it's just started raining actually, so just good time. I just go out, journal, read, you know, train, all that stuff. And then I write down what are the 3 things that I must do today, the top 3 things. Right? I don't worry about 20 things. Yeah, there'll be, you know, I've not wrote this down this live because that's not one of my top 3. I've got 3 things that I want to achieve today. These small things that only take, you know, up to an hour each, and I do them. It doesn't take that much work. Just pick 3 things a day and work towards them. So you create yourself an identity, which is like your highest level affirmation or your highest level goal, who you want, you know, the new thing, whatever that might be, the change that you need, right? And then you write some goals down or whatever, and then you start working on it. Just 3 things a day. And then eventually that will confirm. And then when you're ready, you enhance your identity a little bit more. Maybe you go into the next level and the next level, and you got infinite identities, you know. Your next level, but your current identity will be what you do on a day-to-day basis. So if what you're doing on a day-to-day basis is not that good, that's where you need to start. It's not, if you think about, you should work on your average day, not your best day. I always think, like, your best day might be, I'm on this amazing holiday, up some mountain somewhere or on some beach, and I'm having a really good time. Yeah, that's okay, but that's not what you should work. You should work on, what does your average Tuesday look like? You know, just your average Tuesday, what does that entail? Are you living the day that you want? And that's what I do. Wake up, usually I might train like early morning jiu-jitsu, then I'll do reading, journal reading in the garden, as long as it's not pissing down with raining. I love being outside, you know, the circadian rhythm out there with the birds tweet. It's brilliant. physical journal, reading book. So these are mine at the minute. I'm reading this, Black Box Thinking, my journal, of course. And yeah, that's what I do. Do all my planning for the day, set intentions, what are the top 3 things. So like today I've done that, which are meeting with Nick. She's on her way. We're going to talk about the business, marketing. I've got a cold calling, cold outreach list for my software business. And I've got to publish an article for the software business, all there, right? They're my top 3 things that I need to do today. They're not actually, like the article, I've already written it, so it's in draft. I've just got to find images, there's like an SEO, whenever you do digital marketing, like articles and things like this, it's the SEO, the organic SEO that you've got to check the grammar. I've already produced a draft, flopped it onto a web page, just got to tidy it up, stylize it, put some images with it, do all the internal and external links, the SEO, make sure the keywords are all in it, and then publish it and then promote it. Like that one would go on LinkedIn, possibly Facebook, but because it's a corporate business, it's mainly LinkedIn. The meeting with Nick is coming, and then the cold calling list. I've already got. It's not cold calling. It's not even cold outreach. It's our newsletter list. So they're even warm, because they're existing newsletter subscribers. So just a data list. On that, nothing more annoying than getting a cold call off some random fucking wanting to sell you have you had a claim on your car and all that stuff. It's so annoying. But, in a way, I'm in sales and marketing myself. So I can forgive them to some extent. So that's it, really. Just to summarise, the regret of the actions that you didn't take are far worse than regretting mistakes on things that whilst you were doing the right things. Mistakes are inevitable. I think taking action, if you're procrastinating, just take the action, right? Because you will have more of an eventful life. It may work out, it may not, but you'll learn from it. And that's what this book is about. Continuous improvement, black box thinking, learning from past mistakes, and why people never learn from their mistakes. You don't want to be that person, but you don't want to be sat there with that fear, as in this book, Thinking Fast and Slow. You don't want to be there with the fear of not taking action. I think there's nothing worse than getting further down the line and thinking, I wish I took that opportunity, right? People, as I said at the start, people don't regret that much failures. When if you took an opportunity, it didn't work out, 10 years down the line, you will still not regret it. You'll only regret it if you didn't take the opportunity. And this is the point. No one, as I said at the start, no one would probably, ask yourself, no one would change their life for someone else's. Even if you've been through the most traumatic things and terrible tragedy, you still wouldn't swap it for someone else's shoes because it makes you who you are, right? So yeah, stop procrastinating. And let me know in the comments if you're struggling with any decisions. I've actually done a video, I might have put it in the down below. There's one, I think it's 5 tips on making decisions. That's a good video. Help you to make decisions. Yeah. Reminds me of what Naval Ravikant said in one of his best tweets. I can't remember the tweet, but it went like this. It was like, if you're caught between a path of 2 decisions, let's say you got that, a fork in the road moment, you should always take the decision that offers the most pain in the short term, because usually that means change. You see, your brain is always trying to resist short-term pain. It's always trying to go for the quick fix or the easy route, because it's based on, like, you know, evolutionary psychology and fight or flight and stuff like this. You know, if you just let your subconscious brain rule and you think, you know, this is how we force ourselves to go to the gym, your brain won't bother. Oh, no, it's too difficult. I'll just sit on my ass and do nothing. Right. So the idea being is, when you're caught between that decision, always take the route that offers the most pain in the short term, because that means change. You know, pain is change. It's jumping out your comfort zone. It's doing new things. It's doing hard things, because it's pain either way. You just get to decide. You can either take the early pain for the long-term gain, so you'll get more success, or you can just fucking ignore it and then, you know, let entropy and you know, let yourself wait. You'll end up paying in the long term. You can look at that in any scenario, right? You know, in the health sense, you can the pain of going to the gym and watching your diet versus just not going, sitting on your ass, eating what you want, and then having the pain later down the line when you got diabetes or whatever, and you're just like so overweight, and then you got to fucking wrestle it back from that position, right? It's not impossible. You can always here's the thing, you can always turn the clock back on things like that. It's not impossible, but it'd be a lot more fucking pain when you're 25 kilos overweight than it will if you just start now. So yeah, and that works with everything, you know. Same with a career. Like I've helped some people with jobs and things. It's like when I did a live stream a couple of days ago on getting hired, or hiring and getting hired. And like when you go for a job, if you're going for a new job, there's not many opportunities you get like that. There aren't that many. You've probably only got a handful of, unless you work for yourself, you've only got a handful of jobs. So when you go for a job, you might as well aim high, right at the very top of what you think you can get, or the salary band or whatever, right? Because the idea that you can go into a business and rise up the ranks through promotion is bollocks. You don't get promoted. The only way you get promoted is leaving, sidestepping, right? You might get a cost of living allowance, but that's cancelled out by high inflation. So when you go for a new job, you've always got to go high, right? When you go for an opportunity, go high. Take the risk. All right. I am going to go because I've got a lot of things to do today. I've got my 3 things for a start. All right. You enjoy your day. Don't forget, check out down below my videos. Go and have a look at the one on making decisions. Check out my journal on the goalachievement.hub.com website. Obviously, all links down below on things like my reading list on my website, andyholt.co.uk. Yeah, and don't forget, ask yourself every day about your identity, and then what are the 3 things that I can do today to live in accordance with that identity. All right. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like it, subscribe, and see you all next time.